From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. I'm Nick Barris on this Thursday, and we've got a good show, and I'm asking you to weigh in again today. We're not doing open phones Thursday because we did that on Wednesday, yesterday, and so this morning we're going to be getting more into the details of police action. How much is too much? When do officers go too far? And of course, the basis for this and the hook for our story today is going to be looking again at that video that continues to make headlines across the country, and we're waiting to see about what legal actions or what disciplinary actions happen out of California. The video, of course, that shows that highway patrol officer taking a woman down. We've all seen this by now, and a passing driver shooting this video on the cell phone as this officer's trying to subdue this woman and clearly appears to be punching her more than he needs to. And finally, someone else comes to help him subdue her. All right, your take. We're going to get your phone call, 737-7587, because there's some angles on here. A knee-jerk reaction. Everyone sees that clearly. Wow, what on earth was he thinking? But is there more to this, than just what the video is showing, or things we need to take into account before we just say that officer was completely out of line? Okay? Was he a little out of line? What is the degree of all of this? And so you'll weigh in. But first, we're going to talk to someone who clearly studies this type of thing and has been there and has gone through the training himself. Former police officer here in Metro, gun expert, Buford Tune. Good morning to you, sir.
Thank you for having us.
Good to have you on. And, yesterday we did open phones and turned out a lot of people, strong opinions on this. I kind of was alone in the woods on this, I think, kind of saying, look, I believe it looks as though the officer went too far there myself, too, okay? I'm not saying it doesn't look that way, but I think there are other things to take into account. And Buford, what was your first initial reaction when you, like everyone else, saw this video for the first time?
When I saw it for the first time, as I was telling you a second ago, I do a lot of expert witness testimony.
Yes.
You've got a, 10-second clip here?
Yeah.
What happened before?
Mm-hmm.
Why was this happening? If there's too many elements I hear that you have to put together to put this puzzle together. Officer could have thought she had a knife or a gun. We already clearly got family saying she was unstable. Mm-hmm. You see in the beginning she's jerking away from the officer. Now I'm not saying that he did right, I'm not saying he did wrong, but there's more elements to this that we have to look at before we pass judgment.
Right. The video alone is not enough, but in this day and age, that's obviously what's played. That's what we're showing. That's what's online. People keep looking at it. That's what's getting all the attention.
Right.
Okay? And you sat down and you said this woman's going to sue. Her family's going to sue.
Oh,
you
yeah.
believe.
Guaranteed.
What do you think? How do you think something like that will play out?
It's going to depend upon the department and the attorneys that's involved on both sides. I've seen cases like this where all of a sudden all the complete evidence shows up and it goes away. Mm-hmm. Then I've seen it where the departments or the people being sued, their attorneys will say, look, it's going to cost too much money, offer her $5,000 and she'll go away, which that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's sometimes a lot. They just settle. It's not worth it. It costs more to go through the trial,
right,
even if you believe you're innocent.
Exactly.
All right, well, I see the CHP Commissioner, Joe Farrow, has vowed to complete a comprehensive investigation of what happened in just weeks instead of the usual months. That video, which of course we've said has now gone viral, shows the 51-year-old Marlene Pinnock being repeatedly punched as she's straddled by the officer on the shoulder of Interstate 10 there. And, it just says that right now the officer is on, I think, desk duty pending the completion of the investigation. He had been on the highway patrol for the past year and a half. The type of training, and I know maybe it varies, you were in law enforcement. How are police officers trained in these situations? Are there circumstances whereby they have to use force like that, and it's certainly allowed, and I don't know if it's condoned, but understood why they have to?
Well, you have to control the situation, because if you don't, the situation will control you and wind up getting you hurt. Now, again, it goes back to we don't know the whole circumstances here about why and this even started to start with.
I guarantee you, though, Buford, and we're getting calls right now, and we'll get to them in a moment. Lines open, 737-7587. We're going to have callers this morning. They're going to say, I don't care what happened before or what happened after. Nothing can justify what I just witnessed on that video, meaning that even if he did feel threatened, it seems at some point here this woman is pretty much given up the ghost, and he keeps going at her. Then they're going to say, I don't care what happened before or after. It can't justify that.
Then join the police department and show them how to do it.
Ah. Okay. Yeah, it's easy to sit here and judge, isn't it?
It sure is.
I mean, I'm trying to throw out, okay, let's talk about the circumstances here. All right, this is an officer on his own, okay? A woman who apparently prior to this, he was called to the scene, is kind of out of her head. She has some psychological issues, maybe wandering among the traffic there. The way I look at it, when he arrived, not only does he perhaps prevent some traffic wreck, but he could be saving her life.
Exactly.
He pulls to the side, and then she continues to pull away and walk down the road, okay? And we don't know. We don't have video of really that early part. Did she push him away? Did she run from him? The next thing we know, we see him come up and take her down. He's on a side of an interstate. It's a very dangerous situation. What do you imagine is going through his mind? I'm going to ask you to go there.
Number one, it's hard to tell people what's actually going through your mind. I've been in situations where I've been beat down myself.
Okay.
And I would have prayed for the devil to show up.
Yeah.
It goes back here in Nashville many years ago. We had an officer, Officer Sneed, entered a call on a disturbance. He pulls up. Black lady comes walking out. He's sitting in his car. He rolls his car window down to see if she's the one that called. She walks up to the car. She comes out with a 10-inch butcher knife and lunges in the car at him. Cut the headrest where he was sitting.
Wow.
He lobs across the car. He puts his shoulders against the passenger's door, and he shoots her and kills her. Okay. All hell broke loose. He shot an unarmed woman that he could have got out and took the knife away from. Shot her in the back. He could have done this. He could have rolled the window up. He could have done this. He could have put it in drive and drive. Everybody's always got an excuse. Until you put yourself in that position, it's hard to sit back and say. Once the investigation was, they had 2 witnesses that showed up, if I remember correctly, said he didn't do anything. He just shot out the window. Well, when the investigation was complete, they broke the car completely down. In the vent where he was back against the car and he was shooting out the driver's window, that's where all of his shells were ejected. So that backed up his story exactly where he was. So until everything is put together, I don't care what anybody wants to yell and scream. You got to put yourself in the position here. You would not want to be accused of something when you don't know the totality of the whole circumstances around. Now, you go back and look. Instead of that guy sitting there with his phone videoing this, why didn't he put this phone down and go over there like this other guy did and say, officer, can I help you?
In this case here, where maybe let's go help.
And officer, can I help? Okay, that would have probably saved the so-called beating that we see here.
Right.
So citizens, instead of saying this is bad, put your cell phones down and get up off your rear end and go say, officer, can I help you?
What you just said is I agree with that. And so I don't think either of us are sitting here right now saying that, officers are always right and that they don't sometimes go too far. I'm going to ask you about some instances about where that line is and where they go over it. But in this media age and the quick clip and the video that we show, and that's all we have right now, and hopefully CHP will put out more information after the investigation, we don't know the rest of it. But I'm just trying to throw it out there, and that's what I want to hear from our viewers. If any of you believe that there could be some justification or maybe a greater understanding of how this went down as opposed to this current uproar right now. And trust me, I sympathize not only for the woman who was pummeled on the side of the road, but her family that saw that. If that was my mom or daughter, I would be very upset about it. But I'd also want to know, okay, well, I would want to stop. Do they realize while they're upset that she got pummeled on the side there, and he may have gone too far, okay, but that he may have also saved her life by pulling her out of traffic? They stopped for a moment and say, yeah, okay, he pummeled her, but a few minutes earlier, she's wandering around on I-10 in traffic, and this CHP officer has gotten her out of there. She could have just been crushed by a tractor trailer.
Exactly. And
does
what
that come
would have
into
happened?
play? Has anyone addressed that?
No, nobody thinks about that. Then what would have happened also if, what would these people have done if this had been reversed? If she had this officer on the ground beating the hell out of him?
Yeah.
Would they still be yelling and screaming? No.
Let's take a phone call before we go to the break, and I'm really interested in all of your opinions on this, but we have the expert here on some of the training, but I'm telling you, a lot of the people, there's no justification for what you see in the video.
I understand.
Let's go to Greg. Greg, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey, Greg, go ahead.
I've seen this stuff happen so many times in this country, and I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear your excuses for what if this, what if that. The facts are he was on top of that woman and he was beating her. Now, yeah, it saved her life, but then now she's got brain damage because he's beating her? Come on. Citizens should have interfered correctly. They should have tackled that man, and they should have arrested him for beating a woman senselessly. Once he had her on the ground, he weighs, what, 250 pounds, and she weighed 100 and something pounds. He had to flip her over, throw some handcuffs over, not pummel her head and beat her.
All right, okay, and I hear you talking. Let's roll the video before we go to the break on that, and I think a lot of people probably feel the way he does, and I hear what he's saying, but again, at this moment, and the way I feel about it, okay, he does have her down. He's bigger at this point. Now, you said, who knows, maybe she has a weapon. I didn't see anything. I don't know that she threatened him with any of that. But is it possible at this point, his adrenaline is just going, is at the side of the interstate, and he went too far?
It's a possibility,
He lost control, and he should have eased up.
But until we know everything, and, you know, this last caller, he's on base, but he's off base. We still got to know everything. The hardest I ever got hit in my life, I'm 6'5", 250 pounds, and I was on the police department, was by a 5'1" guy who put me on the ground. So size has nothing to do with it. You get somebody with adrenaline on drugs. There's a guy in Florida not long ago shot 26 times, 40 caliber. One of them was a heart shot. He did not go down because he had so much drugs and strength in his system. So I'll say again, join the police department and show them how to handle it.
Yeah, okay. It's just my point, too, and having covered so many cases, and I tend to try whenever I can to be impartial as I go into this, but I really understand the job that police officers have to deal with and the issues they face. I'm trying to put myself in his shoes at that moment, and where he is on the side of the interstate with a woman who is unstable, that who knows what she's going to do next, and his adrenaline's going, and he went too far, perhaps, but can I understand why he did? But I understand where Greg's coming from as well. You watch that video and it's upsetting. So what are your thoughts on it? Do we need to take a break, Mary? Yeah, I guess we'll take a break and we'll be back. If you're on hold, stay there. We want to hear from you. We'll play the video some more and try to break it down with Buford Tune right after this.